Shout out to all our Yoruba friends out there. Ẹ̀yin tèmi, ẹ̀yin ọ̀rẹ́ mi nílé, ẹ̀yin ọmọ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Báwo ni iṣẹ́ wa? Ṣàlàáfíà ni? Ṣé ṣà ń gbádùn wa? Ẹ káre, ẹ ṣé gan ni. Actually, as soon as we arrived, first of all, I'm like, where is the food I can eat? It's only hamburger and fries. And I'm like, I've never eaten this in my life. I don't like the taste of this food. Where can I find African food? And my father said, we brought you here for a better opportunity, better life. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I did my master's degrees. I have all this student loan and I'm looking for a job. And they told me, okay, this degree, you can start catching mosquitoes and testing it in the lab. How much are you going to pay? Okay, we'll pay you about $7 an hour to be doing that. And I'm like,
which is minimum wage.
Anyways, there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to Africa. And
there still is.
Yeah, and then dealing with that, and then I deal with the being called by my skin color. All of a sudden, I am now black.
Wow.
In America. They said, oh yeah, now you have to show your ethnicity, mark it every time, every semester to get student loan and all that. You tell them, are you African American or are you black? I'm like, I'm not black, I'm African, but there's no place for Africa there. No, you're African American and you're black. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Black, yeah.
But I'm not, but you can't say anything otherwise. You are, and that's it.
I've been avoiding it, but yeah, I was essentially raised in a cult.
Yeah.
A religious cult. And my father had different traumas from his past that he passed on to me.
We came here and we wanted to stay. We were here to stay, and
we are not Muzungu. We are not just coming to visit.
We don't have any organization behind us. This is just us and our family. We're still figuring things out. We thought things would work in place right away. We were scammed. We tried to buy land so that we can start a family, and start planting our own food. We still cannot do that quite yet because we're still in court with our land issue. And
this is Africa, so there's two things you've got to know. One, your plans will probably never be as what you think they will be.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, this is Africa. You can do anything you want in the sense that if you have an idea, you can do it, right? If this doesn't work, you find a way. And that's what I've learned here is you find a way and there's always a way. There's always a way.
Right. My name is Anu. I am originally from Nigeria, but I immigrated to the US when I was 15 years old, became a nationalized citizen there, and that's where I met my partner, Pablo, and we currently reside in a small village here in the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. Yeah.
Yo soy Pablo, I'm Pablo, and around here they call me Mubiru Pablo, ¿verdad? And like she said, you know, I'm from the US, that's where she found me. And and actually we kind of crossed paths. You came to the US, I went to Spain, and then I came back, and then you moved. Yeah, it was chasing each other back and forth until we found each other. I grew up in many different states, but especially in the South, in the Carolinas, like South Carolina, around there. So I grew up in a small town. I grew up very free range. Some might say neglected. I spent a lot of time out in the forests, in el bosque, and I would play a lot with my siblings. There were many of us, total 9 children, but very spread out. Very spread out. So for me, I think we were about 3-4 years apart, all of us. So we weren't super close in that way. But yeah, I grew up in more rural setting, and let's see, I moved around. I studied languages, Spanish was a very common one in the US. It's the second language in the US. Mubiru Pablo. And so that's actually the language that I speak with our children, since it's one that I worked hard to learn. So it's the inheritance that I have for them. I don't know what money. Hopefully, we'll have money in the future, but I don't have money. But at least I know this one for sure is something I can give them. Is that language as well as English, of course.
Yeah.
How was life growing up in Nigeria before moving to US?
I mean, I was my first 15 years was in Nigeria. I mean, my father was I should say so we grew up poor, let's just say that, and we moved from one village to another because of his job until he left to US, and he was there for about 4 or 5 years, and he filed for us. So me and my mom, my 2 other siblings immigrated to the US, and we joined my father, and that was the beginning of life for us there. But life for me in Nigeria was simple. I'm used to the local life. We lived in many villages. Yeah, very simple and rural, I would say. It definitely wasn't easy. It was after 9/11. If you're familiar with 9/11 in the US, things were a lot more strict. 9/11 when some people bombed someplace in New York, and Homeland Security became tighter, and they wouldn't give people easily give visas to go to the US. So we had to apply for about five. The 5th time is when we got all those documents together. My father got a document from the senator of the New Orleans that he was in, and yeah, with all of this document, they finally let us go, but we had to go every year for 4 times we went there. Oh. So things were strict, and the entire process was frustrating. The first time we applied I was 11 years old. I was really young, and yeah, it was and it was just my mother taking care of us. I mean, my father would send money to take care of us, but it was never enough because it's 3 of us and then her. But I finished my high school there. In Nigeria, yeah. So by the time I was 15 years old, when the visa thing, when the visa went through and we joined my father, he's a priest. Episcopal or Anglican Episcopal priest. So he got invited to start a church there, and I think it was during, I don't know if you know about Hurricane Katrina that destroyed a lot of New Orleans and all that. Anyways, they built back from the ashes and built church, and but because of all the good works I did, the senator of the city. Oh, you said I should.
City ahead.
Oh, okay. Said to, give the sign a paper. Yeah, bring your family here, and he was able to bring us there with him, and that's how our life started. And they're all still there. My sister's there, my brother's there, my parents are there, and they've moved to different places, but they ended up back in Louisiana. But and I've also moved to various places for school. That's where I met. We met in Indiana. Processing the documents, I got so discouraged, like it's not going to happen. You go today, they say,
when you were in Nigeria, you mean? Back in
Nigeria, yeah. The document, this is not complete. They won't tell you what is not because they want you to pay the next round. I think it was about $100 per application, and it doesn't. I don't think it matters if you're a child or adult, and that's like 4 of us every time. So that's how many times. And my father said he worked overnight. He worked at bricklayer jobs. He worked different jobs, many jobs, just to be able to afford the visa application and all this. And yet it took about 4 years before they approved it. So that was very stressful. And the things we had, I mean, we didn't have much, so we gave it to our relatives. We packed just enough we actually left at night. We didn't tell any neighbors we were leaving because I think the people, they believe the bad eyes. The Africans.
The evil eyes.
The evil eyes are watching. So we left at night. By the time we got to Lagos and get on the flight, it was... Anyways, it was a whirlwind. I've never been to the airport before then.
How was it?
I mean, the airport was actually one of the, it was new back then. Murtala Mohammed Airport was new back then. The escalator was working well, everything was fine. There's AC in the thing. So I was like, oh, I mean, I was only 15 years old. The experience was new, and I mean, I'm out of my element. I don't know what is going on. We got in the plane, the AC was blowing too much. I was freezing, and we arrived in New York, and it was in June. But it felt like it might as well be winter for me, who came from Nigeria. It was maybe 50 or 60s degree weather.
Fahrenheit,
Fahrenheit, and it was cold. And I stepped outside the airport. First impression was smelly. I had the impression that you're
Like
going
Lagos.
to abroad, US, and it smelled like Lagos, like the smell of rotten streets and everything. Anyways, I
It's
thought,
on the ocean right there. Yeah.
right, I thought you're going to US, you're going to almost heaven.
I know.
Like gold,
Back then.
there's gold on every road. You can see money on trees. Everything is
pick it.
beautiful. I was wrong. When I saw that, I'm like, this is not too different from Lagos. The only difference is people with the different skin tones here. There are more people with different skin tones. I'm like, okay, what is? And then we went to Louisiana. It's just like you might as well be in Nigeria, because there's a lot of African American. But the one shock I got is that, wait, why are they not speaking at least Igbo or Hausa or this African language or Yoruba? You know. Now I realize I had opened my mouth to speak Yoruba to people, and I get the knockback, like, oh wait, I have to speak English, and the English is a different accent. You can't understand it. You have to study it for months and months.
Even me, it's not an easy
Even still
accent
now, my
down there.
mother still doesn't understand much when they speak. She's stayed there for almost 20 something years now. She still didn't understand it, because the way they speak it, there's a twang. It's not normal English. The normal Midwest English that you can understand, you know.
They have the unique dialect for sure. Down there.
It's not. So now I am supposed to go to school. At 15 years old, I've already finished high school. Yes, university.
Yes.
I wanted to go back to high school. My father said, proceed, since you've already finished. There's no reason going back. I wish I had gone back. Maybe I had learned some more of the culture. No, it's okay.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
Maybe you can leave that high
I
school
can
culture.
leave that, yeah.
It's as bad as the movie shows. So, yeah.
So I have to study and understand what the teacher is saying, and navigate not understanding this English. It's supposed to be English. So there are many times my classmates, am I not talking to you? Am I speaking in English to you? I'm like, pardon? Come again? I don't understand. Oh, that was rough. That was rough. And then
How long did it took you to go to college?
it took about a year before, and then my accent started changing a little bit too, because they didn't understand how I thought I spoke best English. Apparently not. I spoke Nigerian English. They didn't understand me at all. They're like,
English-y.
and then there are people there who would ask, "Oh, you're from Africa. Oh, you guys live on trees. Oh, what's the king of who's the king of Africa?" I'm like, oh my god.
If I told you his name, would you know?
And then they was, oh yeah, you're from Africa. Oh, I know. A friend is from, and then they'll name this random place. I'm like, yes, I'm from Nigeria. I don't know someone from Egypt. Okay, cool. I get. Anyway, there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to Africa. And
There still is.
yeah, and then dealing with that, and then I deal with the being called by my skin color. All of a sudden, I am now black
Wow.
in America. They said, oh yeah, now you have to show your ethnicity, mark it every time, every semester to get student loan and all that. You tell them, are you African American or are you black? I'm like, I'm not black, I'm African, but there's no place for Africa there. No, you're African American and you're black. I'm like, no, I'm
Slash
not.
black, yeah.
But I'm not, but you can't say anything otherwise. You are, and that's it. So there's a lot of baggage that comes with being quote unquote black, and I was seeing it left and right. I'm like, oh, I'm new here. I'm so sorry. There's a history here. I wish I had learned about the history before coming, because I was dropped into it. I didn't know anything, and they want me to feel that the burden of being African American. But I'm like, I just came over from there. I'm African. What?
Did you face discrimination or maybe racism?
Oh wow, that's yes. It's in the south.
How was it, the first experience?
It wasn't. First, I landed in HBCU, Historic Black Colleges and University, one of the HBCUs there. So it shield all the African American, but they all gather there and talk about the burden of what it was like, what is like living in the US. It's tough. But they expect me to understand, but I'm like, I don't have the same kind of that struggle because it's a totally different issue.
Scars aren't there. Yeah.
They have a lot of scars and they project that and they're not able to, I guess, they're segregated, and because of the way the society is, they're self-segregated and the other people also segregate them. And I'm like, I came all the way, flew over Atlantic Ocean to be part of America, the melting pot. I don't want to be stuck in this tiny box.
It's a melting pot for certain people.
I wanted more.
It's a very racialized country. Yeah.
So I had to leave the HBCU, but because the burden they thrown at me, I didn't want it. So I went to another school. I joined the the international student community. People from all over the world, Asia, Africa, South America. I made friends from all over the world. I'm like, this is wonderful. This is what I want. But then you move to the Midwest. I finished undergraduate. I went to do grad school. And meanwhile, the story is a lot different from my brother. My little brother was 7 years old when we immigrated.
How was it for him?
It was really, really tough. They talk about him. First of all, the accent was a problem. And then the skin color was also a problem because he was the only one with the darker skin in his entire class. So they picked him out. Yeah, are you speaking English? They make fun of him and all that. So he sort of was discouraged to put back his African identity to embrace the American one. But American wouldn't accept him because you're not African American, you're African. So he tried to be part of African America, but again, those people put themselves in a box where they cannot be part of the entire society. So it was difficult for him finding identity. He went into crisis. It had a lot of, but he pulled through with the help of family and getting back his identity and his roots as African. He got his In my undergraduate, I studied biology. I was supposed to be going for pre-med. I did pre-med courses going towards medical school. But I graduated at the age 19 years old. I didn't want to go to med school then. I wasn't going to because I was the youngest in my class and I know how I was treated. You're not able to even get in places to have fun with the older kids. You are the youngest one of them. So I didn't like the feeling. I didn't get the full experience of university. So I said, I want to take a year off. I took a year off. I traveled and I said, I went to Mexico and I also worked part-time just to maybe have an idea, what do I want to do, And I realized maybe I should go to grad school. Maybe if I have a master's degree will help me towards my medical career or whatnot. So I left that. I went to Midwest. Indiana University was where I did my grad school, and it's a whole different ball game there. Now, at least the southern people have the racism, it's in your face. I had someone told me my skin color was too dark for him. This guy from Louisiana. And I said, it's not you, it's just your skin color is too dark.
Too dark to date.
That stood with me. I actually used some bleaching cream at some point there because I thought maybe I could make it lighter because it wasn't terrible. Good enough. But there was nothing like it didn't work, so I stopped that. It didn't work. So I kept going. I'm like, it's okay, I'll keep going. I got to Midwest, to Indiana. There, racism is more subtle. I mean,
condescending.
Condescending. Yeah. I went to school. The first thing is they said they wanted to give me a mentor that looked like me in the same, and I should belong to this group. They kind of pushed me to it. I'm like, no, I came here so I can be part of everyone here. They said, no, you should be
segregation immediately. Yeah.
And I would be called out in classes like, hey, you, because I'm the only one. Who look like me. And then there's this other guy who's African American. They call him out too. So this is two of us being called out in these classes.
like children in
in primary school. It was awful, the experience. I'm like, so a lot of it started weighing on me. It messed with my mental health. I'm like, I didn't belong, no matter how they see me. The first thing, oh, this is danger. They don't even get to know me before they start. But I kept pushing on, and I got my master's degree in public health. And I started working there. And it's not too long after that when I met. It was a professor who came to work there at the university. I've already finished. But we met, and
I'm glad you stayed after graduating. Otherwise, we wouldn't have met.
Yeah.
Again, we would have missed each other. And I'd be chasing you forever.
Yeah? Before you meet, yeah? When you landed in the US and the experiences you went through, did you ever felt, let me go back to Nigeria, this is not my space? Did you feel that?
I actually, as soon as we arrived, first of all, I'm like, where is the food I can eat? It's only hamburger and fries. And I'm like, I've never eaten this in my life. I don't like the taste of this food. Where can I find African food? But there wasn't, and just everything. And my father said, we brought you here for a better opportunity, better life. And I'm like, what? Where's the better life? I know they have big cars, they have roads and all this stuff, but he set us down and let us know, this is where you are, this is America. Nothing is free. Everything that you have, know that there's bills. You have to pay for it. The air that you breathe in, you have to pay for it. The water you drink, you have to pay for everything. By the time you're done, your money is gone to bills. I'm like, this is where you brought me to come and enjoy what? What am I enjoying? The bills? So I'm like, at least if you're in Africa, you know you're poor, but what you have, you own it. It's yours. You don't have credit, debt this high to your neck, you know. But that was the system. I went with it. But again, I was told this is the better opportunity. Everyone in Nigeria, everyone in Africa are dying to come here. They want to come here to get the green card, to live here. So I wasn't given the opportunity that there's a chance, like you have opportunity, go back. That was, if you speak that, even though my father did say, I want to bring you here to a point where I can go back and retire in Nigeria. But it seemed like that day will never come because there's always bills. You'll never save enough money to achieve that goal.
If you leave, you'll never be able to come back. If you leave those bills,
exactly,
they won't let you back.
They won't let you back. So there was not, the mentality is such like, why would you ever go back? There's better life here.
To Africa, eh?
Why would you ever go back to Africa? There's always opportunity. But
I know.
I'm confused. I'm still confused about the opportunities. Because then I did my master's. I did my master's degrees. I have all this student loan and I'm looking for a job, and they told me, okay, this degree, you can start catching mosquitoes and testing it in the lab. How much are you going to pay? Okay, we'll pay you about $7 an hour to be doing that. And I'm like, but I have a master's degree. What do I do? They say, oh yeah, maybe if you have a PhD.
Wow.
Just keep going. Just keep adding.
Well,
adding bills.
I have debt to pay. They're still asking for money back. What do I do now? I have to go and work retail. I was working retail, working minimum wage, 2 jobs just to survive. I'm like, because
now, speak to an African lady or girl who is aspiring to go to US to study or maybe to relocate with their parents. Speak to them now. What should they expect and what should they plan for?
I don't even know where to begin, because I mean, I have families in the US. I mean, tell them to come and relocate here. It's not that possible, because saving enough money for you to do that, it's not physically, almost impossible, because you have monthly bills that you have to pay. By the time you pay that, there's not much to save. And then, of course, of inflation and all this crisis going on with the things that the higher cost of living, you know, you can get paid higher money, but all that higher money is going towards paying higher bills, you know. So if they're thinking, oh, there's dream of you can achieve this, and first of all, of course, they'll give you loans to go to that school, of course, that you want to go to. And if you're lucky, you get scholarship. But then what? After that, then what? If you have that loans, you have to pay those loans back, or they'll come knocking, you know. I'm glad we had the, I don't know, we got out of that box to think that there must be something else. This place where they say, oh, there's nothing there in Africa, no, that's where the Europe or whatnot is where life is. We're glad we're able to, wait a second, this is our roots. If you keep running forever, what is this place going to become, you know? You have to, the ones who are thinking we can run away and go back.
The grass is greener.
Right, that the grass is greener. It's not. There's no money on trees. There's no gold on the street. I was shocked to realize that. So I understand they want to go to school, they want to, I mean, I wouldn't go against if you have scholarship. Yeah, you can go to school. But whatever it is that you learned, put it into good use, come back to your country and make it a better place where you want your children to grow up. It's as simple as that. Or you have, yeah.
And Pablo, how did you school? How was school?
So for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do in secondary school, in high school. And so I did what I enjoyed, even though I didn't know what future I would have for that. So I enjoyed languages, and I had studied Latin and Spanish, and I was like, yeah, Spanish, I enjoy it, it's easy for me. So let me study that and see where it goes. So I studied Spanish, I studied some German, Russian, I ended up studying some Persian, things like that, studied abroad in Spain, got that degree, and then thought, maybe I want to, because I really like traveling, I really wanted to go around the world. So I said, maybe I will study something to be able to teach English to other peoples. And so I looked at programs to do that, because I thought of teaching maybe in China or Korea, because they were the best paying. And so I was like, hey, maybe I had some friends there, so I thought, hey, maybe I'll learn some of the language, I'll go work there. So when I went to look at programs, I saw one that was like, hey, you can do this program for 1 year and get this certificate. But these courses can also count towards a master's in linguistics. And I said, I love linguistics. And then those courses can count towards the PhD in linguistics. Like, hey, sign me up for all three. So I did. And so I was a PhD candidate for, or not PhD candidate, PhD student, whatever, for like 4 years. But once my funding ran out, it was also at the same point that I realized graduate school and like them pushing you to do PhD.
Yeah.
Graduate school was full of people who didn't know what they wanted to do, which is the wrong reason to be studying, just because you don't have other prospects. So just do another degree, go higher. And they were very depressed. My cohort was very depressed. They were all single, depressed, had lots of mental issues. And I said, I don't want this. I don't want this. I want to go work, leave academia for the first time in my life, and get a job, settle down, hopefully find someone, meet someone, and maybe have a family. And I said, I want to start life. This is too much. This is too much. So I did. I left, and I was looking for jobs, and the job market was very difficult. No, this is in the US still. And yeah, the job market was very difficult. And so, but I managed to get one, thankfully, at Indiana University. Went there.
Vienna, she was studying.
Where I studied.
Where she had just finished studying.
Right.
And she was going to leave, but she stayed, even though your father was like, what are you doing there?
Why were
Do something else.
Why were you staying in the university and you were...
When I finished, I found a job. I was kind of afraid to go, because I was looking at other states. I was afraid to now travel to this state and start all over again. And I thought I would just stay. I'm working. I have a job, even though it wasn't paying much.
What were you doing?
I was working in a doctor's office. I draw blood. I do all the things that the nurses do, things like that. So I thought maybe I'll just work for a while and maybe apply to medical school. I was not too sure.
Study for entrance exams.
Yeah,
that's what you
things
told me.
like that. I was studying for the entrance exam, but I didn't want to go to medical school anyways. But that's why I didn't go.
Okay. Now you went to the university.
You got a job there.
Yeah, so I got a job there. Didn't see her, but I was working there. It was a bit of a transition for me. It was a bit of a difficult time. I had to work a lot. Yeah, as a lecturer. So I was working there as a lecturer, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot to learn, for sure. And the workload was quite high, but it was much better than in like southern states. They would have, even my alma mater, which is like the university I studied at for my undergraduate, I looked at a job there and they told me, well, we're doing renovations and can you work with nothing but a chalkboard?
Oh.
And I said, I've done it before, I can do it, sure. Yeah, okay. And can you also do basically everything we tell you to do? Like if you're doing some extra thing after work, you do this. You go take a group to this country for a few weeks without any extra pay. And I'm like, sure. And can you do like 5 classes a semester and stuff like that? I said, sure. I'll just say yes. But no, it's very difficult in a lot of the universities in the South. They don't have car money. So, but yeah, luckily I got a fairly good job. It was still a lot of work, but it was definitely lonely for sure. I had one of my sisters actually came and lived with me and went to school with, in the area. I was not. I actually moved there, but one of my sisters kind of needed a place to stay, and so my younger sister came with me and lived with me. So you got to meet her as well. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at when we met. About a year, no, not even a year, maybe 9 months after I moved there. And I was actually getting ready to lead a group of students in Mexico. I was going to take some high school students from Indiana to Mexico. So I was about to lead these students in Mexico. I was about to leave in about, 3 or 4 days. I was getting ready to go. And then I happened to, I met some people in town who were like, hey, you can come to this meeting thing at someone's house. And there were older people and younger people and like grandparents and all these kind of people from the community. And I said, okay, I was kind of lonely and I said I was alone at the time. My sister went back to visit family and so I said, okay, well, sure, I will go. And I was kind of down and then I saw this lady.
She was part of the group that...
She had been there for some years, I think. And I saw her. I was like, hey, how do I approach this lady?
Why did you see her and there were others?
Of course, there were other ladies there, but I saw her and I said, well, why do you think? Look at her.
Wait, why
You're beautiful anyways. So I saw you from afar. Yeah. And I saw her and I said, how do I talk to her and how do I approach her without being so obvious? Because there was many people around and they were a bit conservative and I said, how do I do this? And then luckily you were also asking about me. And so she was with like a grandmother. There was a grandmother next to her. And the grandmother called out to me, hey, young man, come here. I said, yes, ma'am.
Because I asked.
Come over. I respect my elders.
Yeah. I asked them like, okay, he walked through the door. I'm like, oh, maybe it's one of the sons of these people who were doing this meeting in their house. Yeah, he just came from out of state and he just came to visit his parents. And I thought, who's that? I've never seen him before.
That was the first impression.
Yeah. And then the ladies next to me, oh, we don't know him either. And then I saw them waving for him. I'm like, no, don't call him. And then they
you
called
didn't want me to come over?
No. So they called him, and then there he was. Came over. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
And now the grandma called you, Pablo.
Yeah.
And then?
So I came over and I said, oh yes ma'am, I'm here, being all polite to the older lady. But then after that I just ignored her and spoke to Anu and I was like, hey, I heard her accent. I was like, yeah, where are you from and whatnot? And you said Nigeria. And I had met a few people from Nigeria, and I knew a little bit about like pidgin, pidgin English there, and I thought, I will show her. Usually when I tell people like I know something about their country, they're shocked because Americans are so ignorant that to meet one that knows even the capital of their country is like a big deal. So I told her, hey, so are you from Lagos?
No.
Which for me is Spanish, Portuguese, like that's a Portuguese name. Lagos is a Portuguese name. It's what the Portuguese gave to that city.
And then he said Lagos. And I thought, if you're going to say it correctly. Don't be ruining my names, the names of our city like that.
Yeah.
And I said, you mean Lagos? It's like, I thought the Portuguese said it was Lagos, so I thought it was like...
I was like, I've never heard it pronounced that way, like Lagos. I was like, what? Her face just fell, and she's like, this guy, he's a show-off, and he knows
it came
nothing.
as if I know something about this.
Because usually people are like, oh, you know something. Maybe it's not great, but you know something. But for you, you're just like, this guy is arrogant.
That's how you felt?
That was my first impression, but I was like...
That was my pickup line, but it didn't work.
So I'm like, you're gonna have to try harder,
Yeah.
So his ego fell a little bit, and
but I didn't stop trying. I kept trying, even though I was like, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going to Mexico for like 6 weeks. And she said, oh yeah, and I'm doing medical school and whatnot. So I thought, she's gonna be gone.
I was applying to schools at that point.
Yeah.
Now that's the first day you people met.
Yeah.
And now you left to Mexico. And you were left in the same.
I was still there because I had a job. I was working. So it's like, well, that's the end of that. That ended, or what would you call that?
Yeah, I mean, like it was like, okay, well, we can't do anything.
Or maybe.
I did not get her number.
He didn't get my
And
number.
I was hitting myself because the whole time in Mexico, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Even though I was busy working, teaching, whatnot, I couldn't stop thinking about her. And I was like, I can't find. So I tried searching online, and I thought I found her.
Remember her name?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
No, I remember her name. And so I was searching. I remembered, she said she had studied this, so I was looking in that department, and I was looking here and there, and I couldn't find any sign of her except for LinkedIn.
Everything was private. So
Everything.
my social media was private.
So, except for LinkedIn, and I found her, so I'm like, hey, I connect. Nothing.
I saw it. I ignored it.
You remember? Maybe.
I remembered him. I remembered his name, yes. But I saw it. I ignored it. I thought to myself, I will make it easy for you. We did. So, so what happened after that? It was gone for 6 weeks. She's wanting food. Oh gosh.
And so I was left thinking, I'm not going to see her again. This is terrible. But I couldn't stop thinking about her, and I said, how can I find her? I just wanted to see her again. I just wanted to see her. So I even looked up, Nigerians in general, Nigerian women, and none of them looked like her. And I'm like, I can't even find her anywhere. Even her cousin, I can't find. What is this?
Well,
so I was just bummed out. But then when I returned,
but I was also counting down until when he will return. I didn't tell him that.
Not until much later did she tell me that.
Because they said 6 weeks, so I would check. I was in my office. I'll check the calendar. Okay, it's 3 weeks, 5 weeks, or 6 weeks. Maybe he'll be back this week. And 6 weeks went by. It wasn't back, and I was thought, well, maybe he lost interest in even being here. Maybe he went back and he's not coming back.
But you saw my friend request. How was I not interested?
How was that? Why did you know her request? I mean, his request.
I don't know. I was a little nervous.
Playing hard to get.
I was playing hard to get, nervous, and all of the above, So I didn't.
And now,
So what happened?
from Mexico.
So then I arrived back and I thought, she's gone. She's probably in med school or something. Because you were very confident. You know, you talk about me being arrogant, but you were very confident. And
That was what I was doing
confident
then.
in something that wasn't happening.
It was
But
happening.
anyways. So he said, oh yeah, you also said you knew Spanish. You said you knew Spanish. I believed you.
I
You said you knew Spanish.
I
You said
knew
you were
some
going to be a doctor. You were
Spanish.
going to...
I knew some
Anyways,
Spanish, and I
anyways.
said, estoy aprendiendo todos los días.
And that you said it so well, like that. So I
did say
believed
it
you knew
well.
Spanish. Anyways. So moving forward, so I went back to that same kind of community group, whatever, and I thought, this is all I've got. Yeah, I'll probably never see her again. But I saw her name on an email, and I thought, maybe they just forgot to take her off the list or something. So maybe she's already gone. That happens, And but then I went to this meeting and I was kind of depressed. Like I didn't know anyone. I was still new in the community. And then she showed up in the door, and it was like
Got
bright lights all around her. It was just like, coming in. The room was suddenly brightened by her. And I said, hey, but I've got to play it cool. So I walked, there was like some food in the kitchen.
Behind you, yeah.
And I walked up. I tried not to look at her. I was like, let me pretend to get some more food. So I went on one side
And I
of the
did
island.
the same thing too. I got up the same time to walk
So
to get
she
some
like went to
food.
get food, and then as soon as we were across from each other, we both looked up at the same time. We were like, hey, you.
I said, hi, why? Well, I did say something about,
You said like, where have you been?
where
or
have you
something
been?
like that.
Like,
And I was like, I told you I would be back. But yeah, so.
and then you told me you had to go visit.
So I added an extra week. It wasn't 6, it was 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I went to visit family before coming back.
Right. I'm
So-
like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah. So, but then from then on, we talked a lot, and there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of drama that happened at that time because of that
Because
community.
it still didn't get in my information. It still didn't get my number. How we got it, we have it in our How We Met series.
Yeah, we go into there's so much detail. There's
Yeah.
so much detail. There's so much drama that happened.
Yes.
And yeah.
Get her number immediately. What made you not?
I just didn't think I was enjoying. I was enjoying the time with her so much that like I just didn't, and I never
yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
I never would ask. I don't think I had ever asked a girl for her number like that.
How
ever.
would you get number then?
I just didn't.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. It just organically it would just happen. So I never thought about like, yeah.
And then-
But for you, so I used her email.
Okay.
Because I saw the email. Hey, let me send an email to her to invite her to go somewhere. Because my family was visiting. So hey, let's go
So
visit
yeah,
somewhere.
he invited me via email. I'm like, wow, such a professor. He sent an email to me to send me a
Get your
message.
number. What was I supposed to do?
Anyways, there is a lot more to the story.
Yes.
But anyways, there's too much drama in our family meeting and
No,
Getting
sorry.
married.
Before taking him to your family, or maybe him taking it to your family, take us to the next step after the second meeting, briefly.
what happened after the second meeting?
Do you mean as we got to know each other? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After the second meeting.
And why did you like each other? Maybe.
Well, okay, the first time my first impression of him was that, I mean, I think it's like maybe that was 10 years. Anyways, I thought it was like at least 35 years old, and by that time I was only
I was
20.
25. I was 25 at the time, right?
Yeah, 25, yeah.
Yeah, I
But you thought I was 35.
I thought it was older because I thought maybe he's mature. The way he carries himself is mature, and I'm like, that's a change for a while, you know. Like maybe he has some sense or something.
He has a job.
He has a job, he has sense, and mature. That's good. So I was like, but he does look like maybe he's already married and we have like 5 children already. I'm like, So that's actually one of the reasons why I didn't want to put my hopes up. I didn't respond to that.
You were 20,
No. I was just 2 years younger than him then.
23 and 25.
23, yeah.
Not even.
No,
2 years,
24, less than 2 years.
Yeah.
So Okay, let me stop. Hold on.
People will think that you're the baby and I'm like the old guy.
Yeah, we're
Like you
not
see
too
on YouTube all
different
the
in
time.
age. Oh.
Yes,
Hold on, she's finished. Let me take this out.
Okay.
No. Yeah, please cut to.
Well,
So the reason why I didn't want to even accept his friend request on LinkedIn was because I thought this guy, yeah, like, nah, he should be, like, what does he want with me anyways?
I see.
I'd like it, but, yeah, so that was the main reason why I didn't want to accept the invitation on LinkedIn. I'm like, no, I'm not putting my hopes up. This guy seems, yeah, it's too, I don't know. Anyways, so there was a question they asked you that I brought that up. They said, what was the next step?
So we started. We can't go into the drama because it would lead us off. We spent a lot of time together and we got to know each other and we did kind of. I was very conservative and whatnot at the time, and so I said, hey, you know what? I want to do right by her. So let me do what I've never done before. Let's do courting, like fancy, not dating, not the modern way, like just being very, how would you say, very conservative and just pure and whatnot and just thinking about marriage, just thinking about like maybe we can get married, and if not, then it's okay. We go our own ways. So I was thinking in a very like conservative way like that. And for you it was like well, I mean,
I know. Before meeting him, were you dating in the US before?
Yes, I dated this guy.
Americans or African?
American.
Yes.
Because I have a thing about, because of the African tradition in general. I mean, I've seen it so far in my life, and I just didn't want too much of it because it put a woman in a position where even boyfriend, girlfriend, the girlfriend knows that, okay, she's going to have to be the one to cook and clean the house and stay with the children and all, those things. So the way they put the women in that position, they're so less than the man in so many ways. I didn't want anything to do with it. But due to my conditioning, the way I was raised up and brought up, everything that I was conditioned, it brought me to what exactly is that I was avoiding. I ended up being in that with
because I was raised in a very almost African culture, which was very similar to that. So she ended up falling into the same thing.
The same thing. Anyways, but
in your culture, you also practice maybe the
no, it's like gender roles. It's like men have this, women have that. And although I was a bit more open than kind of
African setup,
the group that I was a bit more open, but still just the way I was raised, like you're saying, the conditioning that I was raised in. Even though I was more open, I was like, yeah, if you want to go to med school, I can support you in that, whatever. Like, yeah, do your thing. But inside it was like my actions were still like whatever I saw with my parents, whatever I saw, it just kind of goes in that direction. And for you too, like, we were both kind of like, if you don't know where you come from, then you can't change where you're going.
for sure.
If you don't know where you come from, you're going to go the same way that you came from. You're going to be on the same road. It's like you're walking on a road.
Yeah.
You're walking on a road, and if you don't realize what road you're on, you don't know to change.
you just keep
going without even realizing.
Yeah, so there's a lot more to that drama.
Your boyfriend, American boyfriend?
Oh yeah, that's where we were. Yes, it was actually the reason why I ended up in that social place where we met, because I broke up with him, and I was still going to those events, and that's how we met. But it didn't work out, of course, obviously, because of a lot of issues.
Like the basic?
Oh, you want the
details?
I don't know if I can share the juicy detail. Yeah, that's what we say. People should go and binge watch the series. But it was not it wasn't working. It was a little bit abusive, and it was a lot of emotional abuse. Yeah, it didn't work out.
And you weren't valued, or
It wasn't valued, yeah. So I thought, no, I broke it off. I'm like, no, you know what? My self-esteem has gone to the worst it could go, and I want to be out, to be done with that. So I left that.
Tulio, no grites.
No.
No grites. Baja. Where the heck is he? Oh, Tulio, baja.
So when I met Pablo, I thought, oh yeah, this one's mature. It seemed like he has sense, and it's different. Yeah. But then we ended up having so much drama, and then there's a whole lot of what he was talking about
condition.
No, families where they call it interracial dating, where they don't want.
So, yeah.
Where they don't want their family to have those culture mix, because of a lot of drama that comes into it. So let's just say there's too much drama when it comes to two families meeting and the idea of us getting married.
It's bad enough when you're from the same culture, whatever that means, but it's even more difficult when you're
different culture.
Different cultures, if you're not willing to be flexible. And for me, there were certain things, and I think with a lot of men all around the world, especially men, they are much less flexible, because when they're brought up with things, especially when it's men, we have there's this pressure of, you have to kind of continue this whatever, this culture, this thing, and it's the man's responsibility to do this. And I think that's in every culture. It seems like men in every culture have that responsibility, and the women are a bit more flexible and free, and they can learn new things. But the men, it's like there are certain values that you have to follow, and it's been drilled in since we were children. And for me too, I didn't realize I had that. Like I said, many times you don't realize it's there, but until the word marriage comes up, and boom, suddenly all these things are activated, all your culture, and that's anyone from any culture, I think. In the US in particular, well, I guess from my understanding, but in my family culture and my religious culture, it was very strong.
And
so I was nice until that idea of marriage, and then boom.
Background.
So even if you're not religious, you can ask anybody. It doesn't have to be African. When it comes to men and women, they can be boyfriend and girlfriend. Everything is nice. But as soon as you say marriage, they tie the knot or whatnot. You have your duty. I have my duty. Marriage duty or whatnot.
Suddenly, love
is gone. Everything just rigid and.
Did you ever date before meeting her?
Yes.
How was it?
So for me, I was a bit awkward most of the time. So I didn't really date until maybe university and graduate school, maybe, And then I was, like I said, I was raised in a very conservative environment. So the idea is, if there's anything serious, it has to end in marriage or nothing. And so that put a lot of pressure on some of these ladies that had very bad experience with marriage, seeing their parents, seeing divorces, seeing all kinds of things, and so that scared a lot of them. And I had a lot of cultural and religious baggage that would, like with us, would kind of turn on as soon as the idea of marriage came, and of course that scared those ladies a lot. And so if we were anywhere close and I was like, oh, maybe even proposing and stuff like that, and it would be too much for them. And so I was trying to learn after each one. I think it was like two somewhat serious relationships, and then and I was no, I never got along with Americans. I never did. I think it's because I was very different to begin with, not just because of my conservativeness, which was different enough, unique enough for people to be like, that's a bit too much. But also I was much more internationally focused, which is kind of contradictory. Usually in the US, if someone's very conservative, foreign things they don't deal with. But because my father was both, you know, internationally focused as well as very conservative, I inherited those things and went even further. And so for me, I really liked anything, you know, international, you know, getting to know other cultures, and my culture kind of
And me
reflected.
too, actually.
Yeah, which is why we met up.
Yeah. Rama, please stop.
Yeah, please play with them so they have someone.
Yeah.
So, where was I? So, because of that, the only American roommate I ever lived with, we did not get along. I always lived in like the foreigner dorms or whatever with other people, and so we were able to understand each other because we knew we were different cultures. So we were more open to learning. But someone from the US would try to talk to me and be like, we're supposed to be the same culture. Especially if they had the same skin color. They just had this stupid belief that, oh, we should have the same culture. I don't understand you, and I don't care to. I just think you're weird. But then they would turn to the internationals and say, hey, and be so flexible with them. And I'm like, I'm glad you're at least flexible with them. Maybe we won't talk, but at least you're flexible with them. I'm glad, you know, you could be a jerk to everyone. But, so yeah, I never really got along too well with Americans. We always had lots of disagreements and misunderstandings, and also because I came from a very large family, which was also difficult for people to understand. So I had a flexibility level that they didn't. So I would be like, hey, we share our own food and all this stuff. And they said, no, I have my fridge. I put my stuff in there. Don't touch this. Don't touch that. And I'm like, but we're all living together. Like, we share. I buy it next time. It's fine, you know. But things like that. So, Pele, he just cut himself really badly.
With what?
Because he's not
Rama,
wearing his
please
shoes.
look at this child.
Tulio.
Let me hold
Okay.
him so we finish this thing up.
Yeah. He needs to wear shoes. That's why I tell him
Mawa
put shoes
bata,
on
should
all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, this boy.
Pẹ̀lẹ́ pẹ̀lẹ́ ó máa lọ. Musile báyìí. Musile máa ṣe ó máa lọ. Ó yá máa wo kámẹ́rà ń bẹ̀ yẹn ṣó ti gbọ́. Okay.
So,
Pẹ̀lẹ́ ó máa lọ.
long.
Hey,
Pero
yes,
tienes que
yes.
dejar de llorar, ¿vale? Por favor, te daremos una venda.
Pablo, we
muy
gotta
pronto.
get going because we still the tour and all that stuff.
So long story short, that's to say that I had very few relationships with American women. So they were usually from different countries, from different parts of the world. So yeah, I never, So I was pretty much open to anyone who was different. And I also just, had a thing about, I don't know, I just had a weird thing about marrying someone who's like genetically close to me. It just felt weird to me. It was like, I feel like I would be
Cousin.
marrying a cousin or a sister. I just had a thing about that, like, because I have sisters who were blonde, for example, blonde, blue-eyed. So anyone who's blonde, blue-eyed, I'm like, hey, no. That's like my sister. I can't.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I was very, very open, and I even told myself, whoever I end up with, you know, could be anyone from anywhere, you know. So I was already open for that. So when I saw this beautiful lady, I was like, hey, who are you? But I didn't think I had any chance
What
because.
did you like most about her?
Well,
That's
there was a lot of things that I liked. Yeah, her mother asked me that too. And at the time, the way I described it was like, because of the way I was brought up, I didn't have a lot of vocabulary. I just had kind of religious vocabulary and this. So my religious vocabulary was that she had her own faith. But now that I look back,
free will or free
right, now that I look back, it was more like that. It was like everyone was like facing the same way. And you were like above that. You were like doing your own thing. You were free to be you.
Yeah.
And that is why when you came in, it was like there was like a bright light when you came in, because you were you and you weren't afraid. Or to my eyes, maybe you had your own insecurities hidden, but for me, it was you were just free and able to just be who you were, and no one could touch you. It was like you were just it was just amazing to see.
Now,
Yeah.
you want to speak?
Well, that's I suppose that's. Oh, she fell. That's one of the reasons why we got out of what we got out of. So that was good to have then, being free spirited like that. Yeah.
I guess I can say just I've been avoiding it, but yeah, I was essentially raised in a cult.
Yeah.
A religious cult, and so and yeah, we talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's a very long story.
Yeah.
But
So there was a lot of conditioning.
Yes, for both of us. Yeah.
and she kind of came into that,
Right.
unfortunately.
All right. At what point did you introduce each other to your family, friends, and relatives?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't too long after we met around Thanksgiving. We said, okay, let's. He introduced me to his family. We met physically, and
They liked you.
they liked me. His father liked me a little too much, I think. Anyways, so that was that, and then I told my family too. Oh yeah, and he met my family too. They came over to my place. They met them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it seems nice. It's cool-headed."
Because I was raised, conservative, but also Southern, which is very like respectful to elders. And so he saw that surface level respect at least, and he's like, hey, this is nice.
They were open-minded until when culture comes into play. Until where, again, when you say the word marriage, things change. Culture comes and, yeah.
Your family expected you to marry an African man?
Yes, and I was glad. I was so scared. I knew, because they've done arranged marriage before, finding somebody and say, oh, this one, yeah, you can get married to this person. And I didn't want that to happen to me. So I thought, at least if I can find somebody that I at least like, that would be nice. So I found this one. So I was like, I'm happy.
Minimum threshold. That's me.
So I was like, at least it seems responsible, all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, this is a guy, and I like him. This works. And but they were expecting me to marry preferably a Nigerian.
Well, when they met me, they were like,
yeah,
it seems good.
Exactly. So they were
good to go.
accepting
This could be something.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
Until when the cultural stuff happens and things broke down.
Until they were expecting things from me that I, from my culture, was like, no, the man has to be like this. And they're like, no, the man has to be prostrating in front of me, like that kind of thing. So it was
clash of the culture.
A big clash. And for me, because of where I was at, because of my conditioning, almost any situation, intercultural situation, I was very flexible. Like, I would go anywhere, open-minded. Someone says, hey, let's sit down and eat this whole sheep with our hands. I say, hey, sure. I sit down, I eat with them, Like, I was very flexible. I could learn traditions, I could learn greetings, I could learn all these things. But when it came to marriage, like I said, culturally, that had been drilled into me that you have to hold on to these certain values and you don't let those go, no matter what. Culture, be damned, basically.
Yeah.
What are your culture values in your whatever traditions?
It was more sort of Christianity based.
Based on Christianity, but very
Old Testament and very rigid.
Very much anti-female,
anti-women.
Anti-women.
It does hate women a lot.
Very much machismo, like very male-dominated, male-oriented. But that thing, like I said, wasn't activated because I was in academia. There were women all around me who were way smarter than me, and so I could see that. But there was the thing about marriage that suddenly, when that was turned on, I suddenly, it was like I saw my role as different, as like I have the responsibility to protect and to, and
territory and all that.
And my father had different traumas from his past that he passed on to me, which had to do with like father-in-laws. He had a huge fear of his father-in-law and a hatred in a way for his father-in-law, and blamed him for many things as like a scapegoat sort of. But my father-in-law is maybe a little annoying sometimes, but I think he was still a kind man.
Traumas.
Yeah,
traumas because being passed down.
Exactly. So those things were passed to me, and so I walked in, even though I wanted to be close with my father-in-law, I didn't want there to be issues like happened with my parents. But yet, as soon as there was any disagreement, I had to stand my ground. And when I did that, and said, hey, this is what I am doing, you know, what we are doing, you know, marriage and this and that, and we're doing it in the way we want, which is really the way I want it, because I'm the leader, the head.
Yeah, and I was conditioned. I can't talk anymore at this point. My voice was gone. I lost the voice.
So you fell into the same thing you were running away from.
Right, yeah.
And for me too, like I never wanted this, but like I said, it just turns on and you just suddenly go and do what you've been raised to do. If you haven't actually like processed it and thought about why am I doing this, you know? And so my own personality, my own desire to be flexible, to learn different cultures, all of that was like put aside because this is marriage and it's religious and it's deep and cultural and you have to follow these ways. It doesn't matter. And it caused so many problems that I ended up, and all of my siblings as well, the same thing happened with them where what my father did, which was ended up cutting off like entirely all of my mother's family, like no calls, no sending gifts, nothing. He would burn the gifts or send them back. I mean, he was like very into cutting off because there was a belief in like demons and that demons can be associated with those people. It was very complex theology and whatnot that he had.
There was a mental illness pertaining to that too. As well.
And so for my case, I kind of was like, hey, I had weird conflicting ideas. Like with her family, I was saying, hey, because they were telling her, hey, there's some red flags, there's some things going on. And I was like, why are they talking to me? Why isn't the father talking to me? Like very arrogant kind of thing. Because I'm like, it's supposed to be the men talking. Why are these women talking and saying all these whispering things about me? And so I said, why aren't we not talking? And then you were getting upset and, you know, raising your voice with your mother and sisters, and
which is normal. If you've been to Africa, a Nigerian home, people talk loud, they talk and disagree, and that's still fine.
But in my culture, in my family culture, if you disagree, especially with a parent, you will be cut off for life. They will never see you again because they did that already to some of my siblings. Were completely cut off. I never saw them again from age whatever, you know. So they were serious about that. So for me, disagreements lead to separation. So I was like, wait, don't let your love grow cold, or whatever religious terms I used, to say, hey, don't yell at your mom, that's very scary. So it's better to just kind of block her. Don't talk to her until things cool down.
Yeah, imagine. The worst thing you can ever do is just stop communication until it cools down. When will it cool down? Don't you need to talk to amend the situation?
I had never seen situations amended through talking, through bowing and
explaining your
through that.
No explaining feelings at all.
We had no vocabulary for feelings in my family. No, because feelings were considered rubbish by my father. So we learned to despise feelings and say, those are not real. So
so that was
on your side, what were those cultural beliefs?
Oh, it was almost similar with that, but the cultures has to be done in the bride's father's way, because he calls the shots. You know, he tells you where to get married and how it's going to be done and how many people, all these people are going to be invited and all this stuff. It's more of the bride's father. I raised this child. This is my job. I want to show off my child and this and that. And it seems like I went from frying pan to fire to one who was also raised by the same idea, like it's the man who runs this show. Women don't have any say in anything.
But it was basically the same situation but flipped, because it was still my father wanting to use it for his own purposes and to like show off for himself, because he was a pastor. So he used the time at our wedding to like preach his doctrine to everyone. But he made me believe that I was the one in control, right? Or that it was about us alone.
No, it wasn't. It was
when really it was him manipulating, saying, oh, do this, do that, do that. And you saw it, but for me, I grew up in being manipulated, so I didn't.
You didn't notice.
I didn't notice. I was like, no, what are you talking about? We are totally independent. They are just for us.
They were
but
not.
Your family is not for us.
And how did you navigate all that? Come into agreement, like now.
It didn't happen that we didn't come into agreement. We're still in the process of healing, and we haven't told the story of how we got out yet, because there was so much
we'll come to
it. Oh, okay. What were you talking about?
But now you're friends.
Our
What
friends.
was the reaction when they saw you hanging around as a
Yeah.
couple?
I mean,
As a
they saw the red flags when we're going into it, and they all warned me. What? Yeah, they were saying, "What is going on? Why would they say don't talk to your family, and you still be going along with this?" There's a lot of things wrong with that, and when they tell me that, the more they tell me that, the more I say, "Fine, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'll cut you off because
protecting.
yeah, you're not with me." And all of my siblings, every one of them, they told me the same thing. There's a lot of red flag. What is wrong with you? When they say, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, what do you mean, what is wrong with me? I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. So I cut all of them off. I didn't talk to them anymore. So it becomes more and more so we're so isolated from even my siblings, my family, even friends.
Yeah.
It
Basically,
was
everyone. The idea was that anyone who questioned or even
Stay away from
even tried to give advice, like, "Hey, go talk to her family, go talk to her parents, like work this out." Even that was considered, "Oh, you're against us," and so cut off. We don't talk to you. That's how I was conditioned and raised, and that's how
It was
my father,
tough.
my brothers did it.
It was a lot of grief and depression, to not be able to talk to your family. There was a lot of tears, crying, and emotional up and down. We're still dealing with the aftermath, but it was not easy.
Yeah. So the timeline was that. So we met before summer. Didn't see each other over summer. Then we started getting to know each other, and then within about four months, we got engaged, and then we got married 6 months after that.
Right.
So it was almost exactly a year from the first time we ever met to being married was exactly a year. And the engagement was the tough time where the family issues started to escalate, and
Right, again,
By yourself.
no, he proposed, and then we were engaged, and then telling the family, "Oh, look at us, we're engaged now." That ended up, wait, marriage. That thing turns on
everything
culture.
turned on both sides.
On both sides.
Yeah.
So they were
Expectations.
everyone disagreeing, all fighting, and
And I didn't see that I was basically taking my family's side. I saw it as, because I was very kind of controlled and conditioned to basically be manipulated, I took it as, I thought that I was my own person,
okay.
So I didn't see that I was actually taking my family's side over her family's side. I thought, no, this is just my values and my things. But really, my father was kind of pushing things in the background. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But the most difficult part was that kind of like the previous year, I took students to Mexico. The previous summer, the next summer, I had already signed a contract to take students to Spain. And that was, we had very little time. So we got married, and it was 4 days before I left. I left her alone.
Yeah, with
for 6
his
weeks.
family for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And you choose to live together as a couple. Right?
Yes.
And how was it now? As a couple, not with parents and all those drama.
Lọ́wọ́ bàtà kò lọ́wọ́ ṣùgbọ́n lọ́wọ́ bàtà lọ́wọ́ bàtà lọ́wọ́. Hey.
No, it's couple, not with whatever.
We are healing. We have a lot of baggage to deal with.
We only got out 2 years ago. Got out of the cult, and our minds started opening up, and we could start to think differently.
So we're still dealing with the aftermath. I know healing is a lifelong process, and we're taking it one day at a time. Sometimes we'll have 2 steps forward. Other times I go 10 steps back, and I'm back in the PTSD, the trauma that happened, and there's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of anyways.
There was abuse, like for couples between you and
Because of the way the conditioning is,
the conditioning.
the what do you call it? The teachings.
Yeah, whatever abuse that
Emotional abuse.
I went through went onto her as well. In a big way.
So we're dealing with that, and all trying to even to unpack what all the marriage is supposed to be and is, and how we are defining it in our lives. And
yeah, like who are we?
right.
Who are we? Why did we come together to begin with?
Like, yeah, it's a different package.
We have to go back to the core of like, why did we even want to be together to begin with? Once we peel away all of that cultural and religious stuff, it's like, okay, who are we really? You know, and what is the core that was us the whole time? That was not influenced by other things, you know.
And for me,
so we are here together.
it's a little bit more difficult because, I mean, at least you had a core for you from when you were a little younger. But for me, as a woman who's of African descent, I was controlled by my father. Like, everything had to be done his way, and that's how I was conditioned to be able to end up this way. And because we go with what we are familiar with, that's what we're attracted to. And I'm peeling back, like I'm now finding out who I am. Who am I even, you know, to begin with? What did I want from life? What did I want to do in life to begin with? Because everything seemed like it's
your truest self.
My truest self. So it's been a journey, that's for sure. Yeah, but
now you started having children.
Oh gosh, it was right away. It was as soon as we got married, I was pregnant, and it was back to back. So we had at first 4 back-to-back babies while we're still in the cult, and
that's some pretty extreme fertility. Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
And it was in depression actually. Each one, my mother was not. I cannot communicate with any of my siblings or my mother. It was tough. I didn't have anyone, and yeah, life it was definitely tough. But once we got out, I wanted another baby for my healing sakes, because there were things that I was numb to, I was not able to experience, to feel and all that. Over time, you just become numb and you just live day-to-day life not caring. So I wanted to experience, I wanted to feel. So when we got here, I said I wanted just one. I just wanted, just so that with this love, it can overflow and so that the love would overflow and it would trickle down to all of my kids. And then so that we can start putting back pieces together. So thankful she's here. Yeah, anyways, yeah. But so this is where we are. This is
now
where we're finding our healing. It was after the lockdown.
2022.
It was 2020, 2021, right?
Yeah, so in the US it was a bit earlier. So it was 2020 was the lockdown. And then 2021 is when we were free again.
We were start thinking, okay, yeah, because we had 3 babies and we lived in a small tiny house. It's like a cottage house, small tiny 3-bedroom house, and we had 3 babies. And the way it was looking, we would have fast babies, like back-to-back babies. So we're thinking we need a bigger place. This is too small for us to raise it, and we need a place where we can farm, grow our own foods and all that. So we started looking. Maybe we can find a bigger place in the small town in Indiana that we stay. We couldn't find anything that is not almost falling apart. There wasn't anything. And then I think everyone had the idea at that time too. Everyone is now buying houses, and there's house shortage or whatnot. People are going out and building their own houses and building bigger houses, but we're like, With the way it's looking,
Even building
afford it.
like an extra room, just a simple extra room to our house, we barely had enough money, and then within just like a week, the prices of everything went so high, like
Inflation
cement,
happened.
everything, and boom, we couldn't even afford to add a simple room. And we said, what are we going to do? You know, what can we do?
and then we're realizing it wasn't after we switched the foods we eat to plant-based food. We're like, okay, we need to be able to grow our own foods. And where can we do it? We need some land. We need. Winter happens here half of the time when we can't even grow many things. Okay, maybe let's look at other parts of the U.S. What can we find? What did we find?
Nothing.
we
You know, I
couldn't find
mean, I even looked at, okay, basically we were thinking more and more outside the box that we were in. And this is before we got out of the cult. I think it actually helped us to get out of the cult, was starting to think more about things. And the lockdowns really got us and many people to think differently and think about life goals and things like that. And it was like, okay, we want to ultimately settle down somewhere, whatever job we do, that once we are, you know, older, retired, whatever, we will already have like a sort of farm. We can produce our own food, and ultimately get somewhere where we can
Self-sustainability.
be self-sustaining, but also have time for our children and
Right.
for our family and like that. Because like it seemed like whatever job I was going to do, I would, and you too, it would be like we'd be out of the house, we'd be gone. Almost all the time. We would never have time for the children, and we just didn't want
You
that.
were still a professor in that university.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you are
I stay home with the
Take
kids
care of the
because
Childcare.
childcare was not
So expensive.
We can't afford it at all.
I would be giving all of my salary to someone else for childcare. Or if you
Or
had a
if I
job,
had
if you
to
had a
work
job, you
outside
would
the
give all
house,
of your
yeah.
money to childcare. So it just didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for most
Yeah, for
people
sure.
in the US. It's just not possible.
So we started looking at other states like Texas, someplace warmer, Florida, we can't afford. And Texas, you have to go towards the border where there's a war between Mexico and
There's not
with
safety.
the cartel. There's no safety
it's
there.
like we were trying to find one place where we can grow more tropical foods, foods that you grew up with and that I love, you know. And we were trying to. There was a lot of different categories that we were trying to like bring together, but everywhere we looked in the U.S., there was something wrong. Like you said, maybe there was a good climate, but the
There's-
crime,
or the
you know,
natural
it's so
disaster,
dangerous.
there
Or
might
natural
be
disasters like Florida.
hurricane.
I mean, you've seen it on the news. It's like there's no safe place, and there's no good. And even within like the Midwest or somewhere, we can find nice farming land. It's surrounded by Monsanto or Bayer farms, which are
where they spray pesticides, everyone getting cancer left
your
and
kids
right
die
there.
of cancer at age 5. You know, it's like
Right.
there's no place to go, and we said, well, what can we do? So I started looking outside the U.S. You know, we were looking.
We look
That's
at
how
South
the idea
America.
came from,
Yeah,
Right,
like
we
Costa
look
Rica
Costa Rica.
But it's still a bit expensive,
Right.
and we don't have culture there, you know, things like that.
And then you start saying Nigeria, maybe Ghana. I'm like,
well, I had been trying to get her to go.
Why not Nigeria? Why?
so it's been always, he will come home sometime, he will say, let's get
years.
away. Let's go to Nigeria. I'm like,
I'd be like, I can get a fellowship. I can go teach in like Nigeria or Togo or Benin for like a year.
And why in Nigeria?
there's
She's
a,
like, no. I was like, it
there's
would be
a-
a good experience for our children. You're like,
there's an issue of insecurity,
I know.
and also you'll have to go to the small villages, well, like we do here, to make it, because it's expensive there
which is
too.
not where we would be, because I would have to be at some major university. You know, so.
And they have one season there, or one rainy season there, so the weather is still a little bit somewhat. So whenever it popped up, where is the home of organic farming? Uganda popped up.
Well, actually, I mean, I knew people from Tanzania.
Tanzania,
And they were saying, farming, that's the thing you do. You farm. And these were people who were professors. And they're like, no, that professor, that's my side gig. He's like, farming, that's where the money is at in Africa. And they would say, yeah, Tanzania. So I was looking at Tanzania. I was like, hey, there's some insecurities. There's this, there's that. I'm not sure. And Uganda wasn't on the radar. But then I searched about like best place in Africa for organic farming. And boom, Uganda popped up. And I said, hey, what is this Uganda? I started researching it.
I didn't even know where Uganda was.
So then I was like, this is looking amazing because it, like the food, we were already eating food like that. The like the organic growing, the ability to be self-sustaining, everyone does that, you know. Even senators, even lawyers, they have their farms out there in the villages. You know, like everyone knows how to do this. I'm like, this is the culture. And we looked at I was looking at the history, the culture of the people, the way they think about, even the way they think about race and all that kind of stuff. I was like, this fits our family in every way. And so I tentatively brought it to, and I was like, what do you think about this? What was your reaction?
And I just had to, okay, where is this? Oh, it's next to Kenya, right there. I'm like, okay. And you said there's the climate. Hey, it's sunny all year round.
I was like, it's on the equator.
Sign me up. And I said, okay, the people are friendly, and I'm like, oh, it's looking like Uganda then, you know. So
it's looking better and better.
So yeah, that was, and then the foods and the home of the fruits and the fruits basket. I'm
Fruit
like,
basket of Africa.
this is all I wanted, you know, place. And yeah, so we're like, okay, but how do we tell our family we're leaving America? My father that said, I did everything to bring you to America. I have to tell him we're going back to Africa. That's not easy to tell, eh?
I know.
It is not. Even now, it is not.
It's still not. So, but we made up our mind, and we're not gonna let anyone stop us. It was tough. We sold the little that we had. We packed our luggages.
Now this is 2022.
2023.
2022 was when we decided, and we were planning. So we took a whole year
to plan
to work on this.
Okay. So 2023 is when we came here. Was it in June of 2023 is when we came here?
And like I said, my family, my father had cut off so much of my family since I was a child. So coming out of the cult happened about not long after we decided to go to Uganda. Maybe they were starting to feel like, oh, they're already leaving or whatever, and so they're already not trusting us. For whatever reason, they kicked us out of the cult because we said we were going to go to my sister's wedding, who had just been kicked out.
That's
so,
TMI. That's TMI.
But
we'll talk about that at some time.
Yeah,
in the
but
future.
anyways, the point is, I was able to reconnect with family that had been cut off for a year. So like my mother's side of the family, which was great, and they were so different from the way my father had, portrayed them, and they were so like unconditional love, like just like, hey, we're just now meeting you again, but you're wonderful people, you know, your children are great, and where are you going? You're going to Uganda? We just met you, and you're going. Well, you know what? We support you. This is wonderful what you're doing. We don't understand it, but this is great. We know it's going to be good. Yeah, we trust you that you know what you're doing, and even they had done work in Kenya, a lot of work in Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi. So some of my relatives had even met. Some of the couples had met here actually in Malawi.
Right. So we took about 20-something-hour flight. When we packed almost 13 luggages, big luggages. We had to take 4 children, 4 years and under, in Ethiopian airline. Anyways, from Chicago we got here. We have a whole video of our travel vlog, how we did that. It was exhausting, and we came to Uganda without knowing anybody here. We didn't know anyone here. I mean, I think I I linked up with someone, a vlogger, Princess Giga, on there, and says, oh yeah, it's fine here, come over, it's fine. So she's the only one, but we made contact when we got here. Yeah, she was actually the one that helped us to find the place we lived in Kampala for a few. Yeah, but we did it. That actually, we pat ourselves in the back. We did that. 4 children, 4 years and under, cross-continental travel, immigration, because we came here and we wanted to stay. We were here to stay, and
we are not Muzungu. We are not just coming to visit.
We don't have any organization behind us. This is just us and our family. We're still figuring things out. We thought things would work in place right away. We were scammed. We tried to buy land so that we can start a family, and start planting our own food. We still cannot do that quite yet because we're still in court with our land issue, and what else? We had to divert, and we fell into making movies. We did a movie, My Love from Another Land, because we were in a waiting place, and we were like, what can we do for right now to invest something? We did that with the little that we have, and it's currently in distribution. We are looking to distribute it, but we will announce when it's in distribution, where people can stream the movie My Love from Another Land from. But we did it, and then a few months ago, my mother came from the US. She came to visit us.
It was wonderful.
It was yeah, it was an emotional reunion. She saw where we live. She's like, oh wow, we brought her back when she was growing up as well in Nigeria. So it was nice. But then they went back home and started saying, when are we coming back to US?
Are you planning to ever relocate back to US?
It's not in the plan.
No, but they want us every time they call us. When are you bringing my children? When are you bringing my grandchildren? Hey, we need to come back to US. But anyway, so but we're here. We're making it work. We're living our day-to-day life here in this small village, and yeah, it's where we are. I need to pack this clothes. We need to pack this clothes in. Rama. We need that basket for someone planning to bring their family and cross-continental relocation, immigration. Just know, be willing to be flexible. It's not going to be easy.
Be ready to pivot.
Yes. Make
and
connections.
Do your research.
Do a lot
Make
of
connections.
research.
Do your research first. A lot of research.
You know people online, the vloggers and all of those people who are on ground. Make connections with them. Ask them questions. Connect with those people. They can. They'll help. And just know what you're in for. That it's not going to be all like, oh, easy breezy. It's going to be tough.
And this is Africa, so there's two things you've got to know. One, your plans will probably never be as what you think they will be.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, this is Africa. You can do anything you want, in the sense that if you have an idea, you can do it, right? If this doesn't work, you find a way.
Yes,
and that's what I've learned here, is you find a way, and there's always a way. There's always a way.
Right.
Do you regret moving here?
Oh no, because every time I try to regret, I think of the alternative. The alternative.
It's not for us.
No.
Not for us.
Yeah, so no,
For
there's
sure.
no regrets. No, definitely not.
Most challenging thing
Most
Really?
challenging thing,
living here in the villages of Uganda?
I mean, it's also being part of the community fully. The challenging thing is a lot of people speak Luganda around here, and they see me, they think I speak the language, and they're like, what is wrong with this one? Why is he not speaking language? So navigating community and being accepted as part of the community. But we're trying our best. And Pablo, what's the challenges for you?
Yeah, I mean, a recent challenge that we found is what we heard was organic farming, and what a lot of people believe is organic farming in this country is not organic.
It's not.
And even in the small villages, you see these grandmothers spraying with no PPE, spraying the most dangerous, chemical warfare substances imaginable, and it's everywhere.
It is.
And so that is one thing that is making us say, we've got to get our land, we've got to start planting,
Right.
we've got to get on our dream, fast.
Yeah, because I mean the public health sphere. So our body is able to fight bacteria, infection, viruses, and all that if you eat the nourishing foods. But what it cannot fight is chemicals that are designed to kill living cells. You can't train your body or whatever, it will do damage. There's a lot of damage that will happen. That's for the pesticide, herbicide, fungicide that it keeps spraying. It's caused a lot of birth defects, a lot of nerve damage. It caused a lot of issues, and we gotta raise awareness for our future, our little children, and the entire world. It's that we can do it. There's a different way. How did those people back then did it? We didn't have pesticide back then,
Yeah.
So
Exactly, like malaria, sure, we can handle that. People have handled that
malaria,
forever. That's
right.
not a problem. But like chlorine gas, things, neurotoxins, you can't fight those. You can't fight those. You can only try to avoid them. So that's what we're trying to do, is hopefully get our land, get settled, and from there we can, once we are stable, we can do other things, like, we can keep working on film, we can keep doing other things, that whatever other opportunities come our way, we can work on them. But as people around here always say, get your land first. Get your land, build your house, start your garden. Then, when you are fed, you can do anything you want.
Right. Yeah.
With a full belly. And they are right. They are right. So that is what we are trying for.
And how did the kids adapt here?
Very well.
Because they were young, when we brought them from the US, they were still, they're really easy, flexible. Yeah, so they love it. They love the weather. They love making friends, making new friends. So they love it. They love it. Yeah.
Okay.
No, they've done very well. They've enjoyed the food. They're used to the foods very, very quickly, very easily. They've made, like you said, they made friends.
They made friends, yeah.
And they're very flexible language-wise. They all learned English so fast once they got here, and they're picking up Luganda. They were at a good age. They were at the perfect age, I think, to immigrate. And everyone told us that even before we left. They said they're at the perfect age. You go, So they've done very well.
And what's the process of moving, for Americans here to Uganda, and even buying properties and settling? Is there any process?
Oh gosh, there is process. It's a long process into getting your visa, getting your longer stay visa, and getting being part of the community to show that you're a good, good law-abiding citizen.
Right.
Walk your way towards becoming a resident, a long-term resident, and all that.
There's a lot of detailed steps. A lot of detailed steps.
By themselves.
Maybe one day we will, if we're settled. Yeah, we can do what it took for us to immigrate here.
Yeah, the steps it takes, because there's a lot of things that are written about visas and things, and there are a lot of things that are not. And so you have to kind of know the ins and outs. And you also have to be careful of scams. You have to be careful of being fleeced of your money. So there's a lot of things you have to be aware of, and it's a lot. But we've gained so much over 1 year. We've gained so much experience through trial and error that I think we will be a good resource in the future if people need help. To figure out, how do you do this, how do you do that, because we've done and tried almost everything. But in the end, and even buying land, one day we'll when we actually buy our land, when we actually get our land, we'll be able to talk about the steps. And it's very unique. It's very specific. It's a very detailed process, and there's a lot of hands-on, on-the-ground stuff you do. There's a lot of detail to it. But when we get there, we will share everything that we've learned and let people know.
What did you wish you knew before moving? One thing.
One thing is definitely that Uganda is not the home of organic foods. It's not. I wish I knew that. Maybe it would have been a little bit more careful, but it's all on the internet. It's not true. It's not true. What is it that you wish you had known?
For me, I guess it's a difficult one. It basically has to do with, like, I wish I had more experience and had been more experience with, like, scams and scamming and things like that, to be more aware. I think because I had a little bit and I was kind of aware, but when you first arrive, especially if it's a place where you want to be, you have that honeymoon phase, which can blind you to things. And so it's very difficult to keep my mind straight while also being like, this is great, I love this, and these people are so friendly.
And also we just came out of a cult, so everything has to be like, the men deal with this issue. Even though I saw things are looking somehow, but this guy wanted only to talk to the man.
So men would go around you and come to me, and I'm like, okay, sure, here's 500K.
And when I see that happen, usually when they
Oh, un abrazo.
Usually when they go around me and go and talk to him, they see him as a bag of money. Oh, we can
which is,
definitely go talk to him about money,
Unfortunate.
money, you know. And but I didn't have that voice to be able to speak up. Like, hey, you gotta include me too.
What else would you love us or people know about you that I have not asked you? Before talking about your child.
We talked about the one face, one language we speak to our kids. Did we talk about that? Yeah, we're multicultural, multilingual family, we practice the one face, one language. I speak Yoruba to them. Pablo speaks Spanish. We don't speak English to them in the house, but they're picking it up outside.
Right. So our children, they do not have English as their first language.
Right.
Even I told our eldest a little bit ago that, my first language is English. She was shocked. She said, "No me diga." Like, really? I can't believe that.
Because she thought it was Spanish.
Yes.
And you speak Yoruba,
She's 6 years
right?
old. I've learned it.
Yeah, I know.
As soon as we got married, I tried to learn Yoruba at the university and tried to kind of prepare for the children to come. So.
Right. Yeah. So, and also while speaking it in the house, I pick up more Spanish, and you pick up more Yoruba.
Right. We can understand a lot more than we can speak, for sure.
Well, I'm more inspired by some of the Ugandan traditional wares. I bought this in town, and with a flair of.
It's in Shanana.
This is in Shanana that they use this thing. It's the sash, the Bayankole people of Uganda. Yeah, but I put my own chitenge, they call it around there, Ankara style from West Africa type, and I love the African vibe. Yeah, I love it. And you?
And for me and the boys, we like wearing Yoruba, West African
Nigerian attire.
So I wear the fila a lot. It was a little awkward at first walking out in town wearing fila, but I was like, you know what? Just go for it.
Yeah.
So now they recognize me as, hey, that's the Nigerian guy. So yeah, I really much prefer it. And for me, I'm like, if I never have to wear Western clothing again, I'll be happy. Like, if I can wear a nice shirt, nice buba, like this, I will wear it forever. It could be very nice.
Well, thank you guys for watching and following our love story. If you want to learn more about us, our channel, about our journey and story, you can visit our channel, Familia Pablano, and see more of we'll put the link in the description. See more of our journey and where we're going, how is it going for us, and all that. Yeah. And more of our How We Met series, which will be there too,
And our land journey, our land adventures as well.
Plans.
And our future plans and all that, So go check our channel out, Familia Pablano. Go check out our channel out, Familia Pablano. The link will be put in the description. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
It was nice having you on set. I appreciate. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Are we still doing the tour of our garden, or? Here, we're living our best life here in the pearl of Africa, Uganda. Thank you guys for watching. Bye. Shout out to all our Yoruba friends out there. Ẹ̀yin tèmi, ẹ̀yin ọ̀rẹ́ mi nílé, ẹ̀yin ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Báwo ni iṣẹ́ wa? Ṣàlàáfíà ni? Ṣé ṣà ń gbádùn wa? Ẹ káre, ẹ ṣé gan ni.
Ha sido un placer teneros a todos con nosotros. Espero que os haya gustado este vídeo y os haya gustado pasar el día con nosotros y nuestra familia. Estáis muy bienvenidos a nuestro canal y con nuestra familia. Y por favor, no olvidéis de suscribiros a nuestro canal de Familia Pablano. Muchas gracias.
Ẹ má gbàgbé láti máa wò wá o. Orúkọ wa ní Familia Pablano. Ẹ lọ wò wá. Ẹ pè àwọn ẹ̀gbọ́n yín, àwọn àbúrò yín, gbogbo ẹbí yín pátá kẹ́ máa wò wá Familia Pablano. Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀. Ire la máa bára wa ṣe. Ó dàbọ̀. Ó dìgbà.
Ire o.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching our video. We hope you've enjoyed it. Go follow our channel, Familia Pablano, on YouTube. And until next time, bye-bye.
Nice having you.